A hook. Have you ever found yourself trying to make sense of a complex situation? Perhaps a misunderstanding between friends, or trying to understand a news report with conflicting details? Our minds naturally try to weave these bits of information into a coherent narrative, a story that makes sense to us. It's a deeply human way of processing the world. But what if this innate tendency to build stories had profound implications in places where objectivity is paramount? Places like a courtroom, where someone's future hangs in the balance. Introduction. Today, we're going to explore a fascinating and foundational concept in legal psychology, the story model. Developed primarily by researchers Nancy Pennington and Reid Hastie, this model isn't just an abstract theory. It's a powerful lens through which we can understand how jurors and judges actually process the mountains of information presented in a trial, and ultimately how they arrive at a verdict. It suggests that our decisions aren't just about cold, hard facts, but how those facts are assembled into a compelling narrative. The story model proposes that when we're faced with evidence in a trial, we don't just tally up pros and cons like a robot. Instead, we actively construct a narrative, a story of what happened. This story isn't just plucked from thin air. It's built from the evidence presented, our own life experiences, our general knowledge about how the world works, and even our expectations for what a complete story should sound like. And here's the kicker. This story becomes the bedrock of our judgment. C. Main body. The model breaks down this complex cognitive process into 3 main stages. Imagine yourself sitting in that jury box, trying to make sense of everything. Stage 1, story construction. This is where you, as the decision maker, become a kind of mental detective. You're taking all the disparate pieces of evidence, witness testimonies, documents, expert opinions, and trying to assemble them into a coherent account of what actually occurred. Think of it like putting together a jigsaw puzzle without the picture on the box. You're using the pieces available, but also your own inherent understanding of how puzzles should fit together. Your personal experiences, any prior knowledge, and even subconscious biases can subtly influence how you arrange those pieces. For example, if you've had a similar experience in your own life, you might interpret certain evidence through that specific lens. 2 foundational concepts are absolutely crucial here: coherence and pavage. Coherence means your story needs to be logically consistent. It should make sense without glaring contradictions. If a witness says it was raining but another describes bright sunshine at the same moment, your mental story will struggle to be coherent unless you can find an explanation. And coverage means your story needs to account for most of the presented evidence. You can't just ignore the pieces that don't fit your preferred narrative. A strong story integrates the bulk of what was presented, even if some small details remain a bit fuzzy. Interestingly, jurors often form what we call preliminary stories quite early on in a trial. These aren't final, but they act as frameworks, helping them interpret new evidence, remember details, and even prepare for discussions during deliberations. Stage 2, verdict representation. While you're building your story, you're also learning about the legal landscape. This stage involves understanding the specific verdict options available: guilty, not guilty, or perhaps different degrees of responsibility, and their precise legal definitions. What are the elements of murder? What constitutes self-defense? These are the legal categories your constructed story will eventually need to fit into. Stage 3, story classification, or matching. This is where the magic, or perhaps the mental heavy lifting, happens. Once you have your constructed story of what you believe occurred, and you understand the legal definitions of the verdicts, you then try to match your story to the verdict category that offers the best fit. Which legal definition does your narrative align with most closely? If your story strongly supports all the elements of guilty, then that's the verdict you'll lean towards. If it aligns better with not guilty or another option, that's your decision. Now, while this model is incredibly insightful and widely respected, it's not without its complexities and ongoing debates in the field of legal psychology. One of the main points of contention revolves around the criteria for story quality. Critics ask, how do we objectively measure how plausible a story is? What makes one narrative more consistent or have better coverage than another, especially when it's all happening inside someone's head? These subjective aspects make it challenging to apply a purely objective scale. Then there's the undeniable influence of bias and individual differences. We all bring our unique baggage to any situation, and a courtroom is no different. Our pre-existing beliefs, personal values, stereotypes, and even the persuasive power of a strong personality within a jury can significantly sway how a story is constructed and how it's ultimately perceived by the group. The story model acknowledges this, but research continues to explore the full depth of this impact. Another area of discussion is the model's generalizability and complexity. Does it apply equally well to all types of cases, from a simple civil dispute to a complex criminal trial? And do legal experts, like judges, process information in the exact same way as a jury of laypeople? These are crucial questions that scholars like Jonathan Casper and Kenneth Benedict continue to explore. It's also important to remember that the story model is one of several frameworks for understanding how decisions are made. There are alternative theories, like algebraic models that focus on assigning weights to evidence, or dual process models that suggest both intuitive and more deliberate thinking pathways. These different perspectives continue to enrich our overall understanding, leading to discussions about which model best captures the intricate reality of jury deliberations. Finally, there's the ongoing conversation about the impact of trial procedure itself. How do the rules of evidence, the order of witnesses, or even the way lawyers frame their arguments influence the stories jurors construct? Research in this area aims to understand how legal frameworks can be better designed to align with our natural cognitive processes. D. Conclusion. So, what does this all mean for us? The story model, despite its areas of ongoing debate, offers a profound insight. We are, at our core, storytellers. And these stories, the narratives we construct from bits of information, guided by our experiences and filtered through our understanding, profoundly shape our judgments, even in high-stakes environments like the legal system. Understanding this isn't just for legal scholars. It's a valuable insight for anyone trying to communicate effectively, resolve conflicts, or simply make better decisions. It reminds us that presenting information isn't enough. It's about helping others construct a clear, coherent, and well-covered story that resonates. The ongoing research into the story model continues to push the boundaries of our understanding, aiming to develop better measures for story quality, quantify the impact of biases, and ultimately, inform improvements in trial procedures. Because when we understand how stories shape our verdicts, we're one step closer to ensuring fairer, more just, and cognitively sound outcomes for everyone.